Top 10, the creepy photo of the mutated piglet from Chernobyl. The Chernobyl disaster of April 26, 1986 in Pripyat, Ukraine remains the most catastrophic nuclear accident in history. Although the Chernobyl exclusion zone slowly seems to be returning to semi-hospitable conditions for wildlife, the animals who inhabited the area in the late 1980s weren't as lucky. This piglet, on display at the Ukrainian National Chernobyl Museum in Kiev, is a prime example. Labeled simply as mutated piglet, the creature was born with dipygus, a congenital deformity that causes the body to fork left and right along the torso, and the pelvis and legs to duplicate. Nearly 40 years later, this animal is a stark reminder of the havoc that nuclear power can wreak. Top 9, the last moments of Regina K. Walters. Truck stop killer Robert Ben Rhodes may have killed more than 50 women while driving commercial trucks back and forth across America throughout the 1970s and 80s. But perhaps his most chilling murder is the one believed to be his last. Just before Rhodes murdered 14-year-old Regina K. Walters in an Illinois barn in early 1990, he took a series of photos of her cowering in fear as he moved in for the kill. Authorities found this photo and a collection of others like it inside Rhodes' home after he was finally caught several months later. Top 8. The Exorcism of Anneliese Michel. Anneliese Michel was a devout Catholic teenager living a normal life with her parents in Germany in the late 1960s. But then she began blacking out at school before exhibiting increasingly strange behaviors like routinely convulsing, hallucinating, eating spiders, and even drinking her own urine. Michel claimed to be possessed by the devil, and her parents soon came to the same conclusion. They ultimately subjected her to 67 exorcisms, none of which improved her condition before she died of malnutrition at age 23 in 1976, weighing just 68 pounds. Her story was so disturbing that it eventually inspired the 2005 horror film The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Top 7. For Children for Sale. This haunting photo from 1948 reveals just how much poverty can destroy a family. Mr. and Mrs. Ray Shalafou were facing eviction from their Chicago apartment at the time and desperately needed money. So, the unemployed coal truck driver and his wife opted to sell their kids. Though members of the Shalafou family have claimed that the mother was paid to stage the image, the children in fact were sold to different homes within 2 years. Worse yet, the children, Lana, 6, top left, Ray, 5, top right, Milton, 4, bottom left, and Sue Ellen, 2, bottom right, were known to have been terribly abused by their new families thereafter. Top 6, the Pioneer's Defense. Known as the Pioneer's Defense, this creepy historical image was captured in 1937 by Russian photographer Viktor Bulla. While certainly an ominous sight, the men, women, and children depicted here were merely members of the Young Pioneers, the Soviet youth group that was akin to the Boy Scouts. They're seen here donning gas masks during a military preparation drill in the Leningrad area, uncertain of what tomorrow might bring in the years just before World War II, while their home country was seeing waves of death and terror under dictator Joseph Stalin. Top 5. Victorian Postmortem Portraits. Life expectancies in Victorian England were tragically low due to the high frequency of disease and lack of proper medical treatment. And because photography was extremely expensive, most people were never able to get their portrait taken. So, when young children passed away, their parents often dressed them in their finest clothes to sit for their first portrait, creating eerily lifelike images of kids who had already been gone for days. Top 4. The 25-year captivity of Blanche Monnier. When French authorities received an anonymous tip in 1901 that a woman was being held prisoner at an aristocrat's house in the city of Poitiers, they sent out officers to search the home. Behind the locked door of the pitch-black attic, they found a skeletal middle-aged woman lying on a straw mattress laden with her own excrement while insects and rotting food littered the floor. The room's odor was so rank that officers couldn't even continue their investigation, but they were able to learn that the 55-pound woman still clinging to life after 25 years trapped in that same room was named Blanche Monnier. and that her captor was her own mother. Top 3. The Human Dolls of Anatoly Moskvin. Anatoly Moskvin is a Russian former journalist, college professor, and self-dubbed necropolist with expert knowledge of cemeteries. For years, his hobby of collecting dolls hid a macabre obsession that drew upon his particular interests, digging up the dead and making dolls out of their corpses. After making his human dolls, he kept them in his home as his companions and lovers. "I kissed her once, then again, Moskvin wrote about one of his dolls, made from the body of an 11-year-old girl. Police finally caught Moskvin in 2011, after years of increasing suspicion at the growing number of desecrated graves in his home city of Nizhny Novgorod. When they searched his home, they found 26 life-size dolls, or rather, mummified corpses, scattered throughout. Top 2. Michael Rockefeller's death by cannibalism. Michael Rockefeller, Center, the son of New York Governor and soon-to-be U.S. Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, disappeared somewhere in Papua New Guinea in the early 1960s. Seen here on his first trip there in May 1960, Rockefeller's smile belies his grim fate. It's believed he was killed and eaten by the Asmat people, a cannibal group known to behead their enemies and consume their flesh. Top 1. The Trophy Heads of the Maori. Long before Europe colonizers arrived in New Zealand, the native Maori people were preserving the severed heads of the fallen. Known as mokamokai, the heads were chopped off, boiled, smoked, dried in the sun, and dipped in shark oil before being displayed or paraded around like trophies. But when the British moved in during the 1840s, they soon pillaged the mokamokai for themselves. Major General Horatio Gordon Robley, featured in this creepy old picture with his collection, who served in the British Army during the New Zealand Land Wars in the 1860s, was particularly fascinated by the Maori and stole at least 35 heads for himself. As we conclude this chilling journey through the top 10 creepy pictures and their haunting stories, remember that the line between reality and the supernatural is often blurred. These enigmatic images serve as windows into the mysterious and unexplained, leaving us with an unsettling sense of unease. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, these tales remind us that sometimes, the most unsettling mysteries lie within the shadows of our own perception. As you navigate the darkness that